Good morning, everyone. So, today we are going to discuss the testing related to multivariate normal distribution. In the previous lecture, we saw how Wishart distribution is connected with the distribution of maximum likelihood estimator of the variance covariance matrix sigma. So, today we shall see how likelihood ratio test is useful when it comes to testing hypothesis related to mean vector of a multivariate normal distribution. So let us first see what do we mean by likelihood ratio test. So herein we have lambda x, that is the likelihood ratio test statistic. This comprises of as or it comprises of the MLE in the denominator, but not exactly MLE, but the maximum possible value of the likelihood function over the entire parameter space. And in the numerator, we have the maximum possible value of the likelihood function over the parameter space specified by the null hypothesis. So, let us see why do we define it like this. So as the name suggests, likelihood ratio test involves ratio of values of likelihood function. Now not any value but the maximum possible value of likelihood function under the null hypothesis and maximum possible value of the likelihood function under all possible parameter space, entire parameter space. So this diagram gives us a easier way to understand the likelihood ratio test. So suppose the likelihood function plot looks like this over the parameter space. So here we are assuming a real valued parameter theta, and so the point at which the likelihood function reaches its maximum, that is theta hat, and the value of the likelihood function at that point will be L theta hat. So herein we are denoting that value. Now suppose the null hypothesis says that theta is equal to theta naught. So, or say theta less than or equal to theta naught. So all these values on the left of theta naught will comprise the parameter space under the null hypothesis. So as we see the trend of the likelihood function, the maximum value of likelihood function under the null hypothesis is achieved at the point theta naught, and so the numerator of the likelihood ratio test in this scenario becomes L theta naught, and the denominator becomes L theta hat. So this picture depicts a typical scenario of a likelihood ratio test statistic. So now how do we decide based on this test statistic, how do we decide when to accept the null hypothesis and when to reject the null hypothesis? So if the null hypothesis is the true hypothesis, then it will get supported by the likelihood function as well. So now what do we mean by supported by likelihood function? So if the null hypothesis is a true hypothesis, then the likelihood ratio, not sorry, the likelihood function will reach its maximum in the portion of the parameter space specified by the null hypothesis with a greater possibility. And so, when we look at the ratio, if this supremum of the likelihood function under the parameter space is more or less equal to the likelihood function supremum over the entire parameter space, it would mean that the likelihood function is indicating that the sample would be coming from the value of the parameter space specified by the null hypothesis. And so in that case, this ratio of the supremums will be equal to 1 because the numerator and denominator will be equal. And so if that is the case, then we should not reject the null hypothesis. So now it's not necessary that every time when we generate a random sample it- from the distribution, when theta is equal to theta naught will mean that theta hat also will be exactly equal to theta naught. When we have a sample with theta equal to theta naught, then it is likely that the maximum likelihood estimator of theta hat is closer to theta naught. So lambda x won't be exactly equal to 1 when the hypothesis is true. It could be approximately equal to 1 or closer to 1. So in short, higher values of lambda x will indicate that one should not reject the null hypothesis. So the opposite should be true when the null hypothesis is not the true hypothesis or is not the correct hypothesis. So, when the sample is not coming from the portion of the parameter space specified by the null hypothesis, then there the difference between these likelihood supremum under the script theta naught and under the entire parameter space will be significant. So in that case, this lambda x value will be a smaller one, and so one should reject the null hypothesis for smaller values of lambda x. So we say, suppose, so we have identified the critical region for the likelihood ratio test, that is lambda x less than or equal to a pre-decided constant denoted by the letter c here. So reject h naught when lambda x is less than or equal to c. Now when we have so many most powerful, uniformly most powerful tests, why do we need this test based on the likelihoods? So one reason is that it is not at all easy to identify a uniformly most powerful test in several scenarios. So likelihood ratio test provides a unique way to test the hypothesis because of its large sample property. So for large n, minus 2 times log of the likelihood ratio test statistic converges in distribution to chi-square with 1 degrees of freedom. So this is true for real valued theta. So one can, even though one does not know the exact distribution of lambda x, still when the large sample is available, then one can use this asymptotic distribution or large sample distribution of minus 2 log lambda x and can find the constant c. So that's why likelihood ratio test is widely used whenever the sample size is large. Now let us apply this test for testing mean vector of multivariate normal distribution. So we want to test the hypothesis H naught mu equal to mu naught against H1 mu not equal to mu naught. So suppose we have a random sample of size n from p variate normal distribution with mean mu and variance covariance matrix sigma. So under H naught, the parameter space, that is script theta naught, will be like this, and under uh, and the complete parameter space would be like this. So now to apply the likelihood ratio test, let us go to the likelihood function first. So the likelihood function looks like this. L mu sigma is equal to 2 pi raised to np by 2, determinant of sigma raised to minus n by 2, e raised to minus half summation xi minus mu transpose sigma inverse xi minus mu. This likelihood function is simply product of the n PDFs of multivariate normal distribution computed at points xi's. Now we will take the log likelihood function to simplify things. So the log likelihood function will be like this. Now, because the hypothesis is simple, h naught mu equal to mu naught, so it contains only one point. So the likelihood function under h naught will be likelihood function under h naught will be log likelihood function at mu naught and sigma. I'm sorry, this hypothesis is still not a simple hypothesis because sigma is still unknown. So the log likelihood function will be under H naught will be like this. We will simply substitute mu equal to mu naught and we will get the hypothesis. So now we need to get the supremum of likelihood function over script theta naught, we need to identify this sigma as well. So identify the MLU of sigma under when mu equal to mu naught as well. Now the maximum likelihood estimator of sigma is summation xi minus x bar into xi minus x bar transpose. So now when mu equal to mu naught, one can easily show that the likelihood function gets maximized with respect to sigma when we take, instead of x bar, when we take mu equal to mu naught, then the likelihood function is maximized at this sigma hat w denoted like this here. So likelihood function at mu naught and sigma hat uh, w is greater than or equal to the likelihood function at mu sigma for all mu and sigma in the parameter space specified by the null hypothesis. So this left hand side is nothing but the supremum of the likelihood function over the parameter space specified by null hypothesis. So this is what we have written here. So now let us try to simplify this. This should be W. I am sorry. Please make this correction. This should be L mu naught sigma hat W. And so the likelihood function is 2 pi raised to minus np by 2, determinant of sigma hat W raised to minus n by 2, and this e raised to this term. Now we again try to simplify this further by the method which we have used before as well. So now because this is a one by one term, a scalar term, summation I goes from 1 to n xi minus mu naught transpose sigma hat w inverse xi minus mu naught. This is a scalar term. So it can be written as the trace of itself, and then again it can be further simplified. So now this term summation xi minus mu naught xi minus mu naught transpose its n times sigma hat w. So this becomes trace of sigma hat W inverse n times sigma hat W. So this will be n times identity matrix of order P. So this small n we can take outside. So this will be minus n by 2 trace of IP. Now trace of IP is simply P, and so this exponential term becomes e raised to minus np by 2. So this is how we get the likelihood function supremum under the null hypothesis. Now, similarly, the likelihood function supremum under the entire parameter space is simply can be shown to be equal to 2 pi raised to minus np by 2, determinant of sigma hat raised to n by 2, e raised to minus np by 2. So when we take the ratio of the two supremums, this exponential term gets cancelled, this 2 pi raised to minus np by 2 gets cancelled, and this supremum simply becomes the determinant of sigma hat raised to n by 2 upon determinant of sigma hat w raised to n by 2. We are dropping this x from our notation for our simplification, but this does not mean that x is not involved on the right hand side. Sigma hat is very much a function of x. So this we can rewrite as lambda raised to 2 by n equal to determinant of sigma hat upon determinant of sigma hat w. Now let us try to simplify things further. So we consider summation xi minus mu naught into xi minus mu naught transpose, which is nothing but n times sigma hat w. Now we add and subtract x bar in both these terms, and then we expand these terms further. So we consider the product of summation xi minus x bar, xi minus x bar transpose. Then we'll have summation xi minus x bar into x bar minus mu naught transpose. Now this summation will be 0 because now x bar minus mu naught transpose you can keep aside and you can take this summation inside, and then this summation will be a null vector. So as a result, the product will be a null vector. So in this, the cross product terms, both the cross product terms are null vectors. So the last term will be summation x bar minus mu naught into x bar minus mu naught transpose. So we are adding the same matrix n times, and so this will be n times x bar minus mu naught into x bar minus mu naught transpose. So notice that this itself is a p by p matrix. So this is also a p by p matrix, and this is also a p by p matrix. So we are calling, for our convenience, we are calling this as matrix capital A, and then this will be n times A plus n times this. So lambda raised to 2 by n we can rewrite as determinant of A. So we have got sigma hat W as this A plus n times this x bar minus mu naught into x bar minus mu naught transpose. So this notice that A is nothing but this sigma hat. Uh, n A by n will be sigma hat, and so this n will get cancelled. So lambda raised to 2 by n we can write as determinant of A upon determinant of A plus this term. So this we can further rearrange like this. So this becomes determinant of A upon determinant of A plus, now this n x bar minus mu naught x bar minus mu naught transpose we are writing as root n times x bar minus mu naught into root n times x bar minus mu naught transpose. Now to understand this further, let us consider a matrix composed of these A and these terms. So matrix M is created by considering this matrix A, so of P by P size. Then the last row in this matrix M is minus root n x bar minus mu naught. Sorry, last column in the matrix A is minus root n x bar minus mu naught. So that the matrix M is of size p plus 1 cross p plus 1, wherein the first p by p uh, matrix is this, then the last column is like this, and the last row will be then like this. Then when we take the determinant of such a matrix M, then by applying the formula for calculating determinant of a partition matrix, we get determinant of M to be equal to determinant of 1 into determinant of A plus root n x bar minus mu naught into root n x bar minus mu naught transpose. Or the other way, if we apply the other formula, we get this equal to determinant of A into determinant of 1 plus root n x bar minus mu naught transpose A inverse x bar minus mu naught. So we got this determinant of, now both these are the same, this expression is same as this expression. So we got an answer to this expression, determinant of A plus this equal to this. So we have this. So why did we do all of this? So that we can get a simplified expression for lambda raised to 2 by n. So finally, we got lambda raised to 2 by n equal to this numerator was determinant of A, and denominator now we have got to be equal to determinant of A into 1 plus n times x bar minus mu naught transpose A inverse x bar minus mu naught. See this term, this term you can rearrange as n times x bar minus mu naught transpose A inverse x bar minus mu naught. So determinant A will get cancelled in the numerator and denominator, and we get lambda raised to 2 by n equal to 1 upon 1 plus n times x bar minus mu naught transpose A inverse x bar minus mu naught, which is equal to 1 upon 1 plus t square by n minus 1, where this t square is written like this. So this n minus 1, A by n minus 1 is nothing but an unbiased estimate of sigma variance covariance matrix. And so this 1 upon n minus 1 A inverse will be this n minus 1 now will go to the numerator, and so this will be t square will be equal to n into n minus 1 x bar minus mu naught transpose A inverse x bar minus mu naught, where A, the matrix A is n times sigma hat. So this matrix, this t square, so we showed that the likelihood ratio test can be written in terms of a statistic like created like this statistic t square is known as Hotelling's t square statistic, and it is widely applied to test the hypothesis associated with mean vector of a multivariate normal distribution. So now, as we had seen initially, that the likelihood ratio test rejects H naught if lambda x is less than or equal to a constant. So suppose that constant, instead of c, we use the notation lambda naught. Then, because lambda raised to 2 by n is equal to 1 upon 1 plus t square by n minus 1, we can notice that lambda is a decreasing function of t. So when lambda is less than or equal to lambda naught, t square will be greater than or equal to some other constant, which we can call it as t naught square. So the likelihood ratio test can be written in terms of the Hotelling t squared statistic like this. So the test will reject h naught if t square is greater than or equal to t naught square. Now where this t naught square can be shown to be equal to n minus 1 lambda raised to minus 2 by n minus 1. Now how do we get this t naught square? So we have done is simply use this relationship as lambda raised to 2 by n is equal to this. So you put lambda equal to lambda naught, so you would get lambda naught raised to 2 by n equal to 1 upon 1 plus t naught square upon n minus 1. So upon simplification we can get this expression. So now how do we decide t naught square or lambda naught? So now we know that minus 2 log lambda x follows chi-square distribution, but here we don't need that. Instead we can directly use the probability distribution of the Hoteling's t-square statistic, and the result says that under h naught, which is mu equal to mu naught, the Hoteling's t-square statistic, when it is multiplied by a constant like this, it follows f distribution with parameters p and n minus p. So the cut of t naught square can be found by by looking at the quantiles of the f distribution. So t naught square can be simply a quantile, can be a function of the quantiles of this f distribution. Because of this constant, t naught square will not be exactly equal to the quantile, but some adjustments needs to be done. So this is how t naught square will be. So this was all about the Hoteling's t square statistic. So now in the next lecture we shall see how we apply this t square statistic.